The cub did not cry when they left him there. That detail matters. A jungle so thick the canopy swallowed the sky, night falling fast. A child, small even by the standards of his own kind, standing at the edge of the wild with nothing but the clothes on his back and the sound of his father's footsteps walking away. Any other creature, a pita kuanful sign, would have howled, would have begged, would have collapsed beneath the weight of that. Fasign would have father's walk in sans abandonment. He did not. He tilted his head. He listened to the dark. And then he moved. His name was Rengar. And what happened next, in those weeks alone in the wild, and in every hunt that followed, rewrote everything the Kha'Zix believed about what a warrior was supposed to be. New here? Subscribe. Every week, a new League of Legends story, told the way it was meant to be heard. The Kha'Zix Vastaya were not sentimental. They could not afford to be. They were hunters, bone and claw and generation upon generation of discipline forged in the act of pursuit. Their culture did not value comfort. It valued the kill, the quality of the hunt, the status, size of the trophy. The stories told afterward around fires that smelled of blood and smoke. Ig2 Makis, warrior who could not hunt, was not a warrior. He was a burden, a mouth without purpose. And a burden could not be carried, not in a world that demanded everything. Pon Jaf led the tribe. He was large, he was decorated. His den was thick with the bones of Kha'Zix, everything he had ever killed. But his youngest son had come into the world small, too small, by the tribe's reckoning, too thin in the chest, too slight in the shoulders. The kind of body that, in the calculus of the Kha'Zix, did not add up to anything useful. So Pon Jaf made a decision. He did not announce it. He did not hold ceremony. He simply stopped paying attention. He let Wiskelendixtuan, the boy, eat last. He let the boy sleep farthest from the warmth. He waited for the problem to solve. Mahdal itself, when the boy was old enough to understand what his father's silence meant, he did not protest. He left. There is a particular kind of loneliness that sharpens a creature, that burns away everything soft, and leaves only the essential thing underneath. Rengar spent weeks alone in the jungle eating insects and roots, and the small animals he could catch with bare hands. He watched everything. The way the underbrush moved before something large passed through it. The way a shadow changed 3 seconds before the thing that cast it came into view. The patterns. The rhythms. The language of a world that would eat you if you stopped paying attention for a single moment. He was learning how to hunt before he knew that was what he was doing. Then he met the human. Marcon was not from Shurima. He was not from anywhere that valued stories the way the Kha'Zix did. He was a man who had spent a lifetime hunting the most dangerous things alive, and he was very, very good at it. He moved through the jungle the way a concept moves, not touching anything unless he meant to, not leaving a trace unless he chose to. He had killed creatures that legends were built around. He had done it alone, in silence, with a precision that had nothing to do with size. When he found the small Vastaya cub following him, surviving impossibly on the scraps of his kills, his first instinct was annoyance, his second was curiosity. The cub was not begging, he was studying. Marcon watched this for longer than he admitted to himself. The way the small creature catalogued everything he did. The way it mimicked his stillness. The way it showed no fear, not because it was brave, but because its attention was elsewhere, consumed entirely by the act of observation. Then the annoyance returned. He pressed his blade to the cub's throat. He said, "You are not going to survive by watching. You. Hupkabayaktox. Hupkabayaktox. Myaktox. Hupkabayak survive by doing. The wild does not reward students. It rewards hunters. Then he threw the blade at the cub's feet and kicked him down the slope of a ravine. It was, in its brutal way, the only honest gift the boy had ever received. Here is what no one tells you about Rengar's story. It is not a story about rage, it is a story about what a person becomes when the world tells them, over and over and in every available language, that they are not enough. And they decide, quietly and without drama, to become Pomadi. More anyway. The ravine was not kind. Rengar nearly died 3 times in the first week. Once from the fall itself. Once from something dirt that found him before he found it. Once from hunger that reached a point where the body starts. Kepit Shilv body starts Resobi. He survived all 3. Not through strength. Through the thing that Twine Reacher was already forming in him. A patience so extreme it looked like stillness. A focus so total it Twine cleared everything else away. When he climbed out of that ravine he was different. He hunted the valley. He learned every inch of it. He did not fight his prey the way a large creature would, with mass, with force, with the brute arithmetic of size. He fought it the way something small fights something large when it understands that surprise is a weapon and timing is a weapon, and the space between heartbeats is a weapon if you are paying close enough. The tension. He won. Then he went back, not to Marcon, not to thank him, to show him. The human watched him move. The human did not say anything for a long time. When he spoke, he said, "The blade is yours if you can take it back." He could. The years that followed were the making of him. He hunted across Shurima. He tracked creatures that most warriors refused to follow past the Kaka. IRST day. The kind of prey that hunted back, that doubled on trails and waited and understood, in their own way, the same calculus Rengar was learning. He came back to the Kailash camp each time carrying proof. The skull of something immense, the tooth of something older than Predibai. Memory, the hide of something that had not been killed in recorded history. He did not bring these things for approval. He brought them because the hunt required a record. Because the Kailash had always believed he Stedbrew, that the trophy was the story, and the story was the legacy, and the legacy was the only thing that Hoyel lasted when the hunter was gone. He had internalized this even while they were ignoring him. Even while his father's back was turned. One braid in his hair for every significant kill. One trophy for every creature worth remembering. His body became a catalog, a living archive of everything he had found and chased down and ended in the specific way that the Kailash honored most, the close kill, the personal kill, the kind of Shi Atul, that required you to be near enough to smell what you were hunting. He was not large, he would never be large, but the Kailash who saw him move in those years, Minachlo Echachiash Kai stopped counting him in the category of the small Liamahamikal. Then came the moment he could not avoid any longer. He returned to the tribe. He did not make a speech. He walked into camp with his trophies and his braids and his scars, and he stood in front of Pon Jaf and he waited. Pon Jaf looked at what his son had become, and then Pon Jaf laughed. Not a warm laugh, not even a cruel laugh exactly. The laugh of a man who has built an entire system of value, size, dominance, lineage, and has just encountered something that does not F it, and does not care that it does not fit. He looked at the trophies, he looked at the body that had earned them, and he said, "Bring me Kha'Zix, bring me the void thing, the creature that cannot care that it does X, be understood, the predator that the Kailash have no story for because no one who hunted it has ever come back to tell one. Do that, and you may return." Rengar understood what this was. It was not a challenge, it was a door, closed. A door made of the one thing Pon Jaf believed his son could not find, because the void creature did not follow rules, did not leave readable trails, did not behave like anything the jungle had ever produced. It was disorder given shape and teeth. Rengar accepted anyway. He found Kha'Zix. Or rather, and this is the part of the story that the Kailash still argue about at night, Kha'Zix found him. The Void Thing had been watching Rengar the way Rengar had once watched Marcon, with the specific attention of a predator that has identified something unusual, something worth understanding up close. What followed was not a clean hunt. It was not the kind of kill that makes a good story around a .f.ir. It was desperate and ugly, and it cost Rengar his eye. Not in a dramatic moment. In a moment of absolute confusion. The brief, disorienting second when something reaches from a direction that did not exist a moment before. The void does not fight. It rewrites the rules of the space it occupies. Kha'Zix escaped. Rengar returned to camp. He stood before his father with one eye and no trophy and a wound that was still bleeding. He waited for the verdict. This is the part of the story where everything changes, not because of what Pon Jaf said, because Allah vs companifot si tilam vekadi, of what Rengar noticed while his father was saying it. Pon Jaf spoke. He listed failures. He catalogued the inadequacy of a son who could not finish waha achachadid. He said the words a leader says when a lesser warrior returns without proof. Rengar stood still through all of it. And then he looked around. At the den where his father slept. At the trophies on the walls. The trophies of a tribe leader, a great hunter, a Kailash whose reputation was the foundation of everything he demanded from others. He looked at those trophies the way he had once looked at the jungle, with absolute patient attention. They were dusty. Not old, not ancient. Dusty, the way things get dusty when no one touches them anymore. When built, they are decoration rather than record. When the person who earned them stopped earning, Muniaz and Tayad, and started living off the authority they represented. Pon Jaf had not hunted in years. The realization arrived quietly, without drama. Just, there it is. There is the thing that has always been true and that no one was permitted to say out loud because saying it would collapse the entire structure of what the tribe claimed to value. Rengar cut his father's words off. He said, "You have not hunted in years. Your trophies are old. You have been living inside the Ryaltabum, stories of what you were Kapahapam years instead of becoming what a Kailash is supposed to be." Pon Jaf moved toward him. The fight was brief. Not because Rengar was large enough to end it quickly. He was not, but because his father was slow in the way that men become slow when they have spent too long, believing they do not need to be fast anymore. It ended with Rengar's hand at his father's throat, and the tribe watching in complete silence. He released him. He took a trophy. Not the largest, not the most impressive. Just one. To mark the moment. To give it a place in the record his body was keeping. Then he walked out. The tribe chose him as their new leader in the silence that followed. He was not there to receive goblet. He had already crossed back into the jungle, moving with the specific, unhurried purpose of a wise hunter who knows what he is looking for. The eye socket healed rough and empty. Rengar did not fill it. He did not cover it. He wore it the way he wore every other scar, as evidence, as record, as the specific proof that he had been somewhere most creatures could not survive and had walked out anyway. But the empty socket was different from the others, because somewhere out there the void creature was still alive, still learning, still adapting. Rengar had felt it in the fight. The quality of a mind that processes failure as data, that evolves in real time, that treats every encounter as an opportunity to become harder to kill. He had found, for the first time in his life, something worthy of everything he was, not a target, a rival, a reason to become more khatop. He went after it without announcement, without the tribe, without anyone, moving through province that would have him, and several Datefaherald that would not, following the specific signature of a creature that did not follow rules, which meant he had to stop following rules too, had to stop hunting the way the Kailash hunted, had to hunt the way nothing had ever hunted before. Because nothing had ever needed to, the chase is not finished, it may never be finished. And Rengar, if you asked him, which no one who has seen him hunt is willing to do, would tell you that is exactly the point. A hunt with a guaranteed ending is not a hunt. It is an execution. If this story reached you, subscribe. Every week, the full lore of a League of Legends champion, told the way it deserves to be heard.